How's it going, YouTube? Thank you for heeding the Twilight's call, and if you're coming back to my channel, welcome back. Today, we're going to discuss the Defiler Cycle from Dominaria United. These are monocolored creatures that are now coming into the game that have the Phyrexian creature type along with whatever they were before they were completed, and reintroduces Phyrexian mana to the game. For those of you who don't know what Phyrexian mana is, it was a special symbol using the Phyrexian symbol in place of a mana logo on your cards. So if you saw the little pip with the little zero slash down the middle of it, that's a Phyrexian mana. That means you could pay 2 life instead of paying the color of the cost. This was introduced in order to allow flexibility in casting for things and to kind of cheapen things up to enter the game at the cost of 2 life. However, this proved to be not enough of a drawback, and Phyrexian mana is considered one of the most broken and unbalanced effects to ever be introduced into the game of Magic. For example, there are a series of spells that have the Phyrexian mana cost that are banned in Eternal formats. These things include things like Birthing Pod in Modern, which was banned because you could just use the life to pump it out as quickly as possible and go cheat bigger things into play. Gitaxian Probe for a blue or a Phyrexian mana, 2 life. You could go out and look at your opponent's hand and draw a card, or Mental Misstep, which is banned in all kinds of formats, including Legacy, Modern, and even Pauper. This thing is basically a free counterspell for anything with 1 mana. You just paid 2 life. So these Defilers are kind of reintroducing Phyrexian mana to standard by allowing you to discount a colored mana pip by whatever color of a Defiler is. So let's kind of go over and look at them and see how these are kind of balancing the game out and trying to fix Phyrexian mana. Alright, the first of this cycle, there are 5 of them, is Defiler of Dreams. For 3 blue, you get a Phyrexian Sphinx 4/3 flyer that says, as an additional cost to cast blue permanent spells, you may pay 2 life. Those spells cost 1 blue less to cast if you pay life this way. This effect only reduces the amount of blue mana you pay, and whenever you cast a blue permanent spell, draw a card. Each Defiler is templated this way, replacing the color that you pay the life for, and you can only replace 1 mana pip in the life cost. So for example, if you have Defiler of Dreams out, and you want to cast a Cemetery Illuminator, instead of paying 1 blue, instead you can pay 1 blue and 2 life to replace the 1 blue pip as the resource, and then you get a second effect off the Defiler, in this case, draw a card. The next Defiler is Defiler of Faith. For 3 white, you get a Phyrexian Human 5/5 with Vigilance that says, when you cast white permanents, create a 1/1 white soldier token. Same deal, but you pay life for the white pips and get 1/1 tokens instead of drawing cards like with the blue one. This couples up nicely with life gain triggering creatures such as Lunarch Veteran in Standard or Soul Warden in Commander to discount the life cost, or even negates them with the right cards in play. But you could also even put this in something like a Jenny Faye deck and turn the 1/1 soldiers into 2/2 cats or 3/1 dogs, something to consider for Standard and even Commander builds. Next is Defiler of Flesh. For 2 black, you get a Phyrexian Horror 4/4 with Menace that says, when you cast black permanents, target creature gets +1/+1 and Menace until end of turn. Far and away, the black Defiler is the worst of this entire cycle. It makes combat harder, granting Menace, but it only lasts until end of turn, and as is the +1/+1 effect. So you have to have a lot of permanents to get more out of this. It might see some play in maybe like a black and green rock style deck in Standard to make your bigger creatures harder to block, or maybe Death Touchers or something like that to get the most out of the Menace effect. But you're going to run out of black permanents eventually, and it doesn't keep stacking the effect of the +1/+1 or anything like that. So this one's kind of weak, especially once you get into top deck mode. Next up, we have Defiler of Instinct. For 2 red, you get a Phyrexian Kavu 4/4 first strike that says, when you cast a red permanent, deal 1 damage to any target. At first, I thought this was kind of a bad joke. I thought it was just a crap card. But then the more I think about it and I map it out in my head, this is probably the second best Defiler of this entire cycle. It gives red aggro decks a good top-end threat. It's hard to deal with because a first strike body that's that big is no joke. It can play out threats more quickly with the mana reduction off of the paying 2 life. And as long as you're casting red permanents, you can ping blockers, kind of similar how Mayhem Devil used to in Standard. So here's an example of a play pattern I thought of. you can drop this in, pay 2 life, and drop Kumano Face's Kakazan. You can deal 1 damage to any target, a blocker, or their face. And you can also get the 1 damage off of the enchantment coming in. In the next turn, you pay 2 life and slap Hammer Hand onto the Defiler, which then you can ping a blocker, and the Hammer Hand, when it comes into play, makes it so they can't block this turn with a target. So you take their biggest blocker out of the equation. And then if you want to get, even more messed up here, then you play another creature to get the +1/+1 counter off of the Kumano trigger for Chapter 2, preferably something with haste so you can swing right then and there. And then you just go ham. Red aggro looks like it could be decent coming into standard rotation, and I'm going to watch this Defiler and see what happens. And now for the grand Defiler finale, we have Defiler of Vigor. For 3 green, you get a Phyrexian Worm, a 6/6 Trampler, that says when you cast a permanent, put a +1/+1 counter on each creature you control. Opinions vary wildly on this, but I'm in the group that thinks this is the most powerful Defiler of the entire cycle. How the hell did this thing make it past playtesting? It puts a +1 counter on each creature, not a target, each. So the other Defilers, you get one thing out of it, a token, a temporary boost, and menace, a ping, or a card. This thing, on the other hand, scales up with the size of your board, so the more creatures you have, the more you're getting out of it, because you're going to get more +1/+1 counters spread out over your team. Many players, myself included, cannot fathom the power disparity between the Defilers. The black one is severely lacking and leaves no lasting effect on the board outside of, blocking decisions that you might get, what you want dead using the menace, but probably not. The red one at least gives you agency on where the damage goes, and you can either, go to face or start pinging down their blockers so you can attack through. The white one can help you swarm the board and has a big body on its own, and it probably has a little bit of combo potential in the right deck. And the blue one, it draws cards, but the issue with that one is blue really isn't known for casting permanents all that much. It's more of an instant and sorcery color. So it's not probably going to do a whole ton of things in standard. And it also has a body that can be lightning strike, which is getting a reprint in the set it comes in after the rotation. The green one, though, holy hell, it's already underrated as a 6/6 Trampler for 5. That's really good on its own, but it's likely going to be much bigger because you're going to be casting things into it. I mean, the turn it comes into play, you can cast it for 5, and if you have a 1-drop green creature or a green permanent of some sort, pay 2 life and cast it, it's a 7/7 Trample before you ever get to swing with the thing. And then the rest of your team is also growing at the same time. It's not just, it's itself is getting bigger. No, it's everything is getting bigger. And that's just absurd in eternal formats where things like Hardened Scales or Doubling Season or any of that kind of stuff resides. So aside from the power disparity between the Defilers, I do think this is a great attempt at them trying to fix Phyrexian mana and get it back into the game. What do you guys think? Do you think that I'm off base, that the green one's the best one? Do you think another one is better? Do you think that they're not going to see play in standard? Do you think they're just going to be overpowered and overwhelmed standard? I want to know your thoughts below. And as always, thank you for watching and have a great day.